about how to make the most of your CalCPA membership. Membership is free, so I know that we have a lot of people who, they sign up because an accounting professor told them to, or because there's a campus ambassador on their campus and that person said, you've got to sign up for this, or, their accounting club or Beta Alpha Psi said, hey, turn this in, and then they don't touch it for 4 years, or they just apply for a scholarship and they don't do anything else with it. And there's a lot of other ways to get involved to actually use this to move you forward in your career. And so what I wanted to make sure is that everybody here knows that it's not just, a line on your resume. It's really, it's a thing that you participate in. And so I went to somebody in CalCPA, a CalCPA member, who started out, as just, came in and decided to jump seriously right in upon becoming a CalCPA member, became the Emerging Professionals Committee Chair, then became the Secretary-Treasurer of his chapter, then moved into being Vice President, and is now the President of his chapter. And I wanted you guys to know that this doesn't have to be something that you say, hey, 20 years from now, I'll do that leadership thing, or 15 years from now, I'll get involved with that leadership. There are opportunities for you to get involved with your leadership right off the bat. And so Eric Vanderveen is joining us today. He is a CPA at Croce, Sanguinetti, and Vanderveen Incorporated in the Stockton area, and he is a graduate of Cal State Sacramento, and he is going to give us lots of great insight into the experience, because I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking if you haven't been involved or you've just been involved in campus clubs, to see that 40,000 member number. That can just be intimidating. So he's going to give you some insights into what it's like to become a leader, that process, and how that really is going to impact, how your membership is going to impact your career.
Sounds good. So, Eric, it's all you.
It's all me.
Well,
That's good. Hi, everyone. I am Eric, like Melissa said, and I, in addition to Cal State Sacramento, I am also, my undergraduate was from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, so that's my my real alma mater that I like to claim. But
okay.
So I think, did you have some questions you wanted to do it in that format?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with what made you decide to become a member of CalCPA?
Well, I do remember back when I was in school that people were becoming members, and I didn't really know what it was. And back then, it still cost money, and I figured I was too poor to pay for it. But now it's free, so that's a good thing. And when I started working, one of my the partners at the old firm, well, actually a partner here at the new firm, he said, "Why don't you join? It's a good thing." I said, "Okay." So I did, and I met a lot of people, and the ability of your boss telling you to do something means something. So if the CPAs in this world are joining this thing, I figured, well, then I better join it.
That's an awesome point. This is, when Eric, when you joined, it was not free for students, and we didn't, I don't think, even have that first free candidate year. And now this is a great opportunity for students to get engaged even before they actually set foot in the firm, when they have that free student membership. So my next question for you is, do you think, just from your encounters, can students really access CalCPA resources before they're licensed?
Oh, yeah. In addition to the student faculty nights, which I assume all chapters put on, and scholarships, the benefits to students are the information that CalCPA is putting out. It's good to read the magazines, the daily clips that come, keep you informed not only about current events, business type stuff, what's going on in the profession, personal finance articles. They're all interesting things that apply to you even as a student and get you informed, know what people who have the jobs you want are looking at and what they're dealing with currently.
I think that's a great point. You think of wanting those current events, but in an interview, when you know a little bit about the landscape in your chosen field, it's a great way for you to impress somebody with your knowledge. And so as a student, you have access to our magazine, you get our daily clips, which tell you all the accounting and finance news. It's just, you can keep using, and actually, Eric, if you switch that slide, I think maybe it'll show all of the things. So yeah, so there's lots of different opportunities. One of the great ones that's coming up is our Campus Ambassador program. We're actually allowing people to submit applications right now, and that's a chance for you to, once you found that you like what you're getting out of CalCPA and you're excited about it, to actually get paid to share that information with other students and educators on your campus, tell them about upcoming events, all of these different things. That's kind of your job. So you can go on to calcpa.org/campusambassadors and download an application if that's something you're interested in doing, where you can really even be the representative, and you're showing yourself as a leader before you've even stepped off of campus. One of the other great things, and I know you guys are really creative with them, but you guys have, chapter events. There's local events near where you're living, where you can meet other CPAs. When you first started being a member, Eric, was it intimidating to go to chapter events? Did you go with a friend? Kind of what did you do to get yourself to head to those events?
I always took a friend with me, because at least there's some security in that. You have one person in the room you can talk to, and stand there and hold a beer talking to each other, and you don't look quite so crazy necessarily. And they're going to know people. They may not know the same people you know, but then after a while at the events, you begin to meet the people they know and meet the people that those people know, and it just grows your circle of contacts.
That's great advice, to take a buddy. One of our staff members told me that when she goes to a networking event with a friend, one friend is supposed to stand on one side of the room and the other friend starts on the other side, and they work towards the middle. So the carrot is that you've got to talk to people in between getting from one side of the room to the other, and you'll get to meet up with your friend 15 or 20 minutes into the event, but you'll have to have met quite a few people as you go along. So bringing somebody with you so you're not quite as nervous, or bringing a whole group. I know you guys go to a local baseball game, and I think that's a pretty popular event.
Yeah, and the nice thing about some of the CalCPA events is, at least in our chapter, the emerging professional events usually involve a beer or some food or something to do. We do have serious ones. We have a business forum, which we do in November, that they have some speakers, local business people, but it's not all serious. There's time to meet and talk with the friends that you've made, and having a beer in your hand at least gives you something to hold so you're not standing there bored. And I know a lot of the chapters, when I was the committee chair in our chapter, all the other chapters seemed to have that same experience. If you had something there to drink, it made it a lot easier, and it makes it entertaining to go there.
Yeah, and I think that just making that plan is really, really helpful. Besides networking, what would you say has been the best benefit for you as a CalCPA member?
I I know some of the access to the resources that the different statewide committees, government accounting committees, auditing committees, audit standards and accounting principles committee, MAP committee, just the work that those statewide committees put together as far as professional advice, and being able to access some of the literature and letters and stuff that they have written, and just knowing that they're out there as our firm does a lot of government auditing and stuff like that. And when the governor dissolved redevelopment, the redevelopment agencies in the state, we were able to get access to all the information that the CalCPA people did, and we knew CalCPA was advocating on our behalf to the state controller's office, which is something one little firm in Stockton can't do by itself.
So yeah, I mean, I think that speaks to a really important point, which is, you know, for those of you who are thinking about, you know, maybe a specialty in the long run. I know forensic accounting is, you know, one of the really popular ones that's coming up, but there's a lot of different specialties for CPAs in finance and accounting. And, you know, when you're new, trying to figure out every single thing on your own is just too much to do. And keeping up to date on what's going on in Sacramento, even keeping up to date on what's going on in Washington, D.C., which sometimes impacts you, you know, having other people who are there, who are working on it, who are happy to provide you those resources is a great way for you to just, again, get yourself ahead. Or, you know, if you see an area in your firm where you'd like to maybe expand, hey, our clients have really been talking about this level of consultation, or could we provide this? You know, when you can go to another firm that's, you know, not necessarily in your region and say, hey, I know you guys built this. What did you do and how did you do it? You know, can you give us some insights? No, you're not going to be sharing your business strategies, but just having that knowledge base, I think, can be really, really helpful when you need a question answered or a topic covered. So, Eric, you started out as your Emerging Professionals Chair for the chapter, which I know involves normally sending in an application, but I mean, were you nervous about that process? Did you talk to some chapter leaders? Did you talk to your bosses, you know, before you did that? Kind of, what was that like for you?
When I started with CalCPA, soon after I became a member, one of the partners was the past president. He had been the president the year before of our chapter, and so he took me to a CalCPA meeting, one of the board meetings, and said, hey, we'll just take a look. And I was lucky in the fact that our chapter is a smaller chapter, so it wasn't an intense application process, but it was that the people that were currently on the Emerging Professionals Committee and on the board said, hey, that guy, you know, they put a lot of trust in me, saying they met me a few times and then they wanted me to be involved. And so that was made me a little nervous that they thought I could do what they were doing and I just started. But, you know, you get, there's help out there. The other board members, the other committee chairs, people that have been doing it for a long time are willing to help, and that's a great thing, and it builds up a relationship with those people that if I see them around anywhere now, well, actually, next week, a week from today, we're all meeting the people that were on the committee prior to me. Said, oh, we need to get together for lunch. We haven't seen each other in a long time. So it's just that relationship with a bunch of good people.
Well, and I think, you know, it's nice when you're just starting out in a position. Sometimes you may or may not be immediately given that trust in your workplace depending on the size of your office. And, you know, if you're able to get in front of people who know, who see leadership potential in you, then you are able to go back to your bosses when it comes time for that promotion, when it comes time to something special, when you want it to advance in your own office, and say, hey, gosh, look at what I've been doing, not just in the firm, but outside the firm too. I am showing myself as a leader in the community. I am getting my, our face somebody in front of some other people and some other connections. So that's a really good advantage of becoming a leader. Once you joined the chapter leadership, how did you balance your time between, work, personal life? I mean, it's not just CalCPA. Everybody has a ton of other activities on their plates, and I'm sure you are, you definitely fall into that category. So how did you manage that?
I'm still trying to figure out how to manage that. It's a big responsibility, and as an individual, I think if I volunteer for something, I want to be able to give it the best job I can. And this year as chapter president, and it does take a lot of time. You have to get the support of the people you work with. They make your job easier. But it is a personal benefit to me, and so I know that I spend some of my own time, not just the company time per se, doing this. And I benefit personally, as well as our company does, from me being involved. But it's great to work with people, and that find a value in it, and that has made it easier. But it is a challenging task to balance it, and you have a family at home and lots of things going on, and want to go have some fun too. The good news is it's not all work. You can enjoy yourself a little bit while you do it.
Well, and hopefully, things like when you go to a baseball game or something that's a little more fun, then maybe you take people along, invite other people to check it out, invite a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a spouse, to actually give them a chance to get to know your colleagues and maybe see a different side. And a lot of times I think there's like a discount for going. You usually get, your ticket and your food and, a drink or whatever, all cheaper than what you would normally pay to go to the ballpark and do all of that stuff. So it can be kind of a fun way, I think, maybe to integrate, your all of the parts of your lives, and get other members of your firm involved too. And I know your firm was really involved already, but I think that's, if you work for a firm that isn't already involved, inviting other people so that they can spend time with you and see what you're doing.
Yeah, and if you marry a CPA, then it also, you can bring her along, and she actually fits in. So that's my story.
Now see, it's all about the strategy. You heard it here first. So another question is, you are a relatively young leader on your chapter board, and as a president, you get a say on when our vice presidents and presidents meet. Did you find that it was difficult or intimidating to share your ideas? Did you feel like, I don't know, like sometimes you can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the new kid on the block. I should just sit here quietly. Who knows if they really want to hear from me?
And you brought up the presidents and vice presidents meeting, and that's one of my favorite meetings that I've been to as working with CalCPA, is all the presidents and vice presidents of the chapters, 14 chapters across the state, get together at the meeting, at our annual meeting, and just talk about what's going on. We have some basic things we're discussing, but it's a room of 35 people with some staff and whatnot total. But everyone listens to everyone, and even though I was probably the youngest one of the youngest ones there in June, nobody made me feel like I couldn't have a chance to talk. They listened to what I had to say, and even when I made comments about old gray-haired people listened, and there was a lot of them in the room, and they respected my answer because they knew that if my chapter has trusted me to get to the level I am, that I must have an opinion that matters and that can help benefit the organization.
Well, and I think, a little bit about how chapter leadership works. You don't come in on Monday and become president on Tuesday. you go through different roles, and so they start to see how, what your value is and how great your input is at each level in the process. So by the time that you get to that vice president and president's meeting, you've already got a minimum of a couple years under your belt with working with the chapter. So they know you, and they are going to, make sure that when you're in that larger stateroom of all of the chapters or all of the leaders at CalCPA, that, they've really vouched for you at that point. So I think that can help too.
Yeah, it definitely does help, because you learn a lot. You learn a lot going up through the different seats or the ranks in chapter leadership, and it prepares you for the task. Nobody wants you to fail, because we're all trying to make something work. And so everybody's working hard at the same goal, and that's what's helpful.
So I know we talked about, those bigger events, at a council meeting where there's 100+ people, or CPA day at the Capitol where there's 300 people. How do you make sure that you don't just get lost in the crowd, but that you really have a chance to meet with the people you want to meet, that you make good connections, that it's a positive experience for you, that you're not just going to like a cattle call?
I think the first time it's definitely scary, just like going to a local chapter event. The first time it's nice to have at least one person you know. The good news is when you do go, when we go from our chapter, there's the vice president is usually going with the president. And so you get a chance to learn, and they know they've been there before, and so they get to help you out, and you have one friend. But then you meet, I met people when I was the vice president last year that now we have relationships with, and we've called and talked and emailed with different things going on, not just work, but or not just CalCPA work, but other issues, or how would you deal with this, or how would you deal with that kind of stuff. So in the big events like that, it's nice to, you just have to work slow, and you'll meet people, and people are willing to, they're there because they want to meet people also, so you don't have to be too afraid.
That's a good point, that everybody who's attending a networking event, they're not there to sit quietly. They're really there to make make their own connections. So hopefully you'll have a chance, if somebody's kind of looks like they're new too, just to break that ice by even addressing that. Hey, you came to this so that you could meet people, and so did I, and gosh, I haven't met you yet. I'm so and so, and then you may get something rolling. How would you say that CalCPA has just in general impacted your career? Maybe it's how has it changed those balancing? Whatever it may be, just how does it impact it?
One of the big things is the networking and knowing people in other firms in your area. Excuse me, it's not just about getting the next job or a better job at another place, because if you wanted to use CalCPA for that, you could, but it's when you have a relationship with another CPA in the area and he says, well, I don't deal with wineries. What do you want to do? Can you do this winery audit, because we don't do wineries? Or, hey, we don't deal with XYZ company because they're in a manufacturing, or hey, we're on the board of this nonprofit, can you guys do an audit for us? You build relationships that it's not about just getting the next job, it's about working together in a community, because we are all trying to accomplish the same things, just under different roofs. And CalCPA does unite the CPAs, which is a nice thing.
That's awesome. I think that's a really good way to think about it, that you're all kind of, the CPA profession is a well-respected profession. It's been around for over 100 years, and audits, you go to school for accounting and you learn about those debits and credits, and you're all doing something relatively similar under your different roofs, but really it matters that you guys sometimes act as a profession as a whole, and we talk about CPA Day at the Capitol, and before I keep going and have never answered to students who maybe haven't attended, that's a day when we have all of our CPAs are invited to come speak with California legislators, assembly members, and state senators, and we try and match you up with folks from your own district so that you can really talk about, when the 150-hour requirement was on the table, we had to explain to legislators, well, this is why you're voting on this. As some of you know, right now on the governor's desk, there is an extension for people who have passed the CPA exam but have not yet completed all of their licensure requirements, and that is something that we really helped the California Board of Accountancy, get that to the governor's desk, because we know it's important. And so that's the opportunity that you have when you have that force of 40,000 instead of just being, an individual firm or even an individual chapter. When you get all of those people together, you can really make an impact. Another question I have, this is sort of the same question in two parts. So what have you most enjoyed about being a CalCPA member, and what have you enjoyed most about being a leader in CalCPA? Because I think those are kind of two different things. And at the end of the day, I hope people have a really good time.
The thing I enjoy most about being a member is being involved in it with CPAs and making the profession a place I want to work, a job I want to have. I've selected this profession, and you need the support of all the other members and the things that CalCPA is doing to make it happen, to make you successful in your career. The thing probably best about being the leader is leadership experience that your future employers appreciate. Seeing it on a resume that says president, or when the press release goes in the local newspaper and your clients are calling up saying, hey, congratulations, you're the president. They respect that, and it's advertising that you can't get anywhere else by just having that title and what it does to people around you and the respect that you get, even though you may not always deserve that kind of respect, but they do. It helps give some credibility to what you do.
I think for those of you who were on with us yesterday, and if you didn't have a chance to listen to Kevin's presentation, I really do recommend it. He was in our National Meet the Firms week last week, and he helped out with the CalCPA Meet the Firms week because, of course, he is based in California, and he was talking about that sort of tipping point for people. Do you continue on past manager and senior, and do you get to those upper echelons of a firm? And a big way that people do that is by having that business development sense. And that's exactly what you talked about, Eric, getting your name in front of people in a way. Every president is put in their local business journals. There are opportunities to speak, to be in our magazine, to go out to schools. You never know where those connections are going to come from, and this is just a way for you right out the gate to show, hey, if you want somebody who's not only going to have the technical skills, but they are going to be able to work at really building our business, this is a great way to do it. So I always like to ask people who are a few years out of college or maybe many years out of college, depending on where they are in their career, but I want to know what's one lesson that you've learned just in your career that you would share with students because you wish somebody had shared it with you or somebody did share it with you and it really was of a big benefit.
I think especially relating to CalCPA, one of the benefits or one of the things I would go tell people is to join as a student, to go to the student faculty nights, because those are opportunities where you get to meet with other students who might not go to your school, to see what they know and what's going on, but also to meet with the people that have the jobs that you're looking to get. And I always enjoy, as a member of a firm, we always invite the students to our office to come take a tour, to sit down and chat with us and have a little conversation in a small group where they can be unafraid to ask any question and say, what is it like on a day-to-day life of an accountant? Is it really as boring as people, on the outside think? Are you all wearing green visors, or what's going on? And just getting to talk to CPAs in practice is something I wish I had done when I was in school.
Well, and I know that you're not the only firm that allows students to shadow or ask those questions, but even having a mentor, you may have a mentor assigned to you in a firm, or it may happen naturally in a firm. But what's really exciting is that, sometimes the firm you pick off the bat is not where you're going to end up for the rest of your career, or it is, and you want to really develop and enrich that firm, and having other people who are available to you at different firms who can tell you about their experience and who can give you insight to what you should be doing, or even if they're somebody who is who's doing great work, but they're unhappy at their firm, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, this is an opportunity to have them walk across the aisle. I'm going to be, the awesome person who found this great new hire. You can't do that if you're only doing events with your own firm and only doing, if your only contacts are from your alma mater. If you don't build your network any larger than that, you can't really make those things happen. So I think that's great advice, really, just building that network larger and making it richer. One of the other things that I don't know how many students follow this. I follow this because I'm kind of an accounting, I'm not an accountant, but I know all of the stats about the profession. This year, 60,000 students will graduate with degrees in accounting. That does factor in graduate degrees. So about 42,000 students in the U.S. will graduate with degrees in accounting, which is a huge number. And obviously people signed on today because they know that they want to really to stand out from that crowd. So my question for you is, how do people stand out? When you meet people at a student night, because I know you attend those, Eric, or if you go to an accounting club meeting, what are the things that really help people be memorable beyond those other 40,000 people that you might get resumes from or might be interviewing?
One of the big things is the people that actually want to talk to you. I know the firm I used to work for, we hired one of the guys who was not, he was a student, but he was not assigned to us. He wasn't one of the students we necessarily sponsored that night at the student faculty night event. But he came to us a year later and said, hey, do you guys have an internship? And that the fact that he followed through made the difference for him, because, oh yeah, we remember his face, we remember that guy, and the follow through is what's going to get you there. So you go to the student faculty night and you meet the people, but if you send them an email, or you want to make sure you definitely get their business card. I know our chapter always does a deal where you have to collect so many business cards and then you can win a gift certificate or whatever. Don't just throw those business cards away. Make sure you send an email or connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, it was nice to meet you at the student faculty night event last week, and if you ever need anything, here's my email address. Or just something little like that, because I remember you go through your old emails and you're like, oh, that was Jackie, oh, that was Sally, oh, that was Tom. And those personal connections that you make with CPAs is what's going to make the difference and make you stand out from the other 42,000 people that are graduating.
I think that's really key. It's one of my reminders that I always tell students is when you go to LinkedIn, if you link with me and tell me, oh gosh, I can't remember what the stock, it says, I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn. You know, I'm sure, Eric, you can attest to this. You meet a lot of people on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And if I get the I'd like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn and I can't immediately recall where we met, you know, I'm not going to necessarily accept that request. So if you met somebody at a baseball game, even if it's a couple weeks later and you want to connect with them via LinkedIn or you want to connect with them via email, you know, really putting in those personal details. Hey, it was so great meeting you at the baseball game. It was crazy the way that Seagull stole your peanuts during the third inning. That's the kind of thing that you go, oh my gosh, absolutely, I did talk to that person, even if it's 3 or 4 weeks later, when you're making those long-term connections.
And some of it is not people. You're not necessarily going to get the job the first person you talk to or email back or whatever is not necessarily the job you're going to get, but it might be your second job, because then you went, somebody else gave you an offer and you went to the other firm first. Well, then this other firm says, hey, no, we really need people, and then you still have that connection and you can say, oh yeah, remember we met at the student faculty night and you were on the board, picked out the scholarships or whatever. Just remember things about people. And I know that when I get the emails from the students afterwards that do send thank you notes and whatnot, it puts them in your mind one more time.
Yeah, I think that's another thing is and this is a really good reminder that we all have to face, which is you may be great. And you may have been a great person for the job that's listed on the website that you saw, and that doesn't necessarily translate immediately into you being hired for that job. You know, on average, you know, recruiters are getting 100+ applicants, and that's not for accounting, but anytime they post a job, just a job description, they're getting 100+ applications, resumes that they've got to go through. And so even if you would be great, you don't know where they are in that hiring process. You don't know if they're involved in that at all. You know, you may have just made the initial connection, and it may take 3 years, it may take 5 years, it may take 25 years for that to turn into a job, and that's okay, because a network is not just about the getting of a job. A network serves a bigger purpose. So just reminding yourself of that, not getting upset if it doesn't happen right away, I think that's really key. And I think that's, Eric, do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, if they have any questions or anything.
Yeah, I think let's open it up to questions.
Melissa, I'm checking the questions now, but you know, one question I had for you guys was, besides some of the resources, and I apologize if you already covered this, but some of the resources that CalCPA produces, what are your favorite sources of financial or accounting information?
I can tell you mine.
I thought you were laughing because you already answered the question. You're going to scold me, but okay.
No. I just feel I've really reached a point. If anybody knows anything about my background, it is that I was not an accountant, nor did I have any plans to become an accounting expert or have like favorite accounting news resources. That just kind of boggles my mind on occasion. So the fact that I have a favorite accounting resource kind of just cracks me up. Going concern, seriously, is if you
Yeah.
want funny accounting news that's enjoyable and just is a good resource. Accounting Today is always useful. I would say if you have 5 firms that you think you want to work for, I think that you set up, Google alerts on all of those firms and just make sure that they come straight to your phone. And this is a plug for something that's not accounting related, but you want to just be aware of what's going on in the world. And that's an email called the Skim, and they just give you, the updates on the biggest current events impacting our nation and the world every weekday. It takes 3 minutes to read the email, but you never go into a meeting, you never meet anybody who you can't have some base conversation with. And I know that this is something that may get me, there's maybe not the most politically correct idea, but gosh, I always know who's playing football, I always know who's playing basketball, and I always know who's playing baseball on any given day when I'm going to a networking event, because if everything else in the conversation fails, how about them 49ers or Chargers or Warriors or I don't know what the Sacramento Kings will be by next season, but just having that is a really good thing, because not every conversation is going to be about accounting, but I think those are, if you were to go to Going Concern every day, if you get Accounting Today sent to your email inbox, you review those daily clips and have your 5 top firms in your Google alerts, oh my gosh, you're going to be so knowledgeable, it'll make your head spin. Eric, do you have any others that I haven't touched?
I like the Accounting Today. In addition to CalCPA's daily clips, the AICPA puts out a nice daily, I don't remember the title of theirs, but their daily summary is nice because it has some more accounting pronouncements and stuff in it, which you can say, oh, okay, that one doesn't apply, that does apply. Oh, that's coming down the pike, I better look at that.
I like the Skim. I've never heard of that, but I'm going to sign up. Is it on your phone or just email only?
It's an email, and I think they also have a Twitter feed, but it's, oh man, it gives you usually one sort of funny quote for the day. Yesterday, and funny is kind of a strong word, but the Pope had a very bold interview yesterday. So yesterday's quote was from the Pope, or their commentary was on the Pope. But it just gives you a nice smattering of news, and it's especially hard when you're working or going to school or doing both, or all those things, to keep up to date on everything that's going on. It's nice to have just a quick email that covers big news for you.
Cool. I can tell you, I'm in a private company, but we work with our CPAs all the time. And sometimes when you visit a customer, a client, it's not all business. You've got to be able to have a conversation. Something like that is a very great way to establish rapport easily with a client. Current events, sports, just lighthearted stuff before you talk shop. So you ready for some more questions?
Yeah.
All right. So Eric, Tom wants to know, do you appreciate thank you emails or physical cards more? And are emails acceptable?
Emails are acceptable, and they're nice in the fact that you can get them out quick and easy. We're all accountants, so we save a lot of things. But that email is going to be stored electronically. Eventually, I throw away the paper one, but it does show that you put a lot of effort, or a lot more effort into it when you handwrite it. I know it shows a personal touch that you actually took the time and spent the 45 cents to mail it out. So it shows more effort. If you sent one probably by paper and connected on LinkedIn would probably be your top way to do it, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, great suggestion. That's a good way to reach out. All right, we've got a lot of questions. Okay, Scott wants to know what's the best way to go about finding a local chapter, Melissa? Are there separate chapters for specializations like forensics?
That is a great question, and you are assigned a chapter based on your location. Usually if you give us your school, it's based on your school, but you can sign up for, I know I went to school in Los Angeles, but I'm from San Diego, so my summers were always spent in San Diego, and I would have wanted to get updates on both on both places. So you can choose in your preferences, and it's really simple. We encourage everybody to go online and update their CalCPA profile, because we don't know what we only know what you give us. So that's kind of how those are set. And the chapters vary in size based on the number of people in the area, and then also geography. And there are specialized groups. There's a forensic services section. There is a group called Tax Talk for people who are specializing in tax. There's all different specialties that you can sign up for to hear about local discussion group meetings, to get in touch with contacts you may want. So that is a great question, and it's all available if you just log into your profile at calcpa.org.
Perfect. Thank you. Hopefully, Scott, that gives an answer to you and everybody else. Be sure to check that out. Oh, yep. Scott says he's good to go. Thanks, Melissa. All right. So I think this is probably, Eric, we'll start with you. Hi, I've been working in private industry for 3 years, and I just passed all of my exams. I'm assuming that means all parts of the CPA exam. I'm looking to switch my career to public accounting. Do you have any advice for me? Thanks.
Going to events like the Emerging Professionals events in your chapter would help you meet firms. You can meet people at firms. You can get a flavor of what the firm is like just by, in our small chapter, each firm will usually send 1, 2, 5 people, and you can get a flavor out of what's going on at a firm. Are you guys hiring? Do you need somebody with this experience? I work in this industry. Can you get me a job? You know, you have to be willing to ask, but they'll help you meet the people that you potentially want to work with. And when you go to the interview at that firm, you can say, "Oh, is Tom in today? Because I met him at the baseball game, and I was just wondering if I could say hi to him." And it just shows that you have one more connection to the firm when you actually do go to interview.
I like that. Melissa, did you have anything else to add on top of that, or if not, I'll go on. Didn't want to jump ahead.
I would say if you've passed the exam and you're working under a CPA and you can get licensed, get yourself licensed, because you don't need to be working in public accounting to get licensed in California. So get that license under your belt, or at the very least communicate to everybody that you encounter that you have passed all 4 parts of the CPA exam and you're ready to be licensed. And if you're 150 ready, communicate that as well, because that does impact employers. Especially right now, they're very conscious of making sure that people are able to get licensed or are ready to get licensed, and that they're not paying for your master's degree. So, all of those things, I don't know if it's on a resume or if it's included in a cover letter, but yeah, making sure that that's communicated is important.
Thanks. Melissa, Scott wants to know if we could have your and Eric's email address to follow up with questions about CalCPA or anything in the conversation today. If you guys are okay with it, I can send this out across the audience through the GoToWebinar if you want to tell me what it is.
It's fine if you send mine. Mine is just Melissa, MELISSA, .Thornton, THORNTON, @calcpa.org. And you can find me on LinkedIn. It has a picture of me. It's an old picture, but it still looks relatively similar. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm @CalCPA_students, and I do respond to questions there as well. So if it fits in 140 characters, you can find me on Twitter.
Awesome. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, my email address is going to be ericv@csvcpas.com.
And what were the first letters after the @ sign again?
CSV CPAs.
Got it. All right. All right. Let's see here. All right. We're gonna have one question, and then Melissa, after you guys answer this question, I'm gonna let you wrap it up and close up shop. Okay? But it's a good one. Andrew wants to know, for those who are newer to the field, how would you recommend networking your prior experience? How would you recommend discussing your prior experience when networking? And I think there's probably two kind of ways you could attack this. I mean, if you're a college student and you're networking and you're talking to experienced professionals, how do you handle that, right? You don't have any professional experience. You don't have any stories of, war stories of last-minute audits and returns and things like that. So, or maybe you're transitioning from another industry. So kind of an open-ended question, but I'd love to hear what both of you have to say about that. Eric, if you have anything, why don't you start?
Well, I mean, the easiest way to connect with people, of course, is we're all people. So you have something in common right there. But when you meet new people and you don't have a war story about a crazy audit or a last-minute deadline and that you stayed up till whatever time doing this or crazy things, you can ask, hey, what's the craziest inventory you did, or something that you know about what they do. If you know he's an auditor, the person's an auditor, you know they're going to do field work. Well, what's your favorite industry to work in, or what do you enjoy most about being an auditor? Why don't you like tax? Those kind of questions will help you get to know the person. Did I answer it, or did I miss it?
You know what? I'm going to comment on that before Melissa does, and
Okay.
I hope I'm not stealing Melissa's thunder, but and I probably am, aren't I, Melissa?
Well, we'll have to see what you say. My
Okay.
thunder is easily stolen.
No, that's not possible. I'm not on your level. That's the thing. But when you are new to an industry and to a profession, and when you are maybe new into the career game, this is something that came up yesterday's discussion. The difference between sort of trying to find your insight to offer the world and the professionals who are around you, you're going to feel an urge to do that. But Eric hits on what I think is a really good point. You need to be asking more questions than giving more statements early on in your career, and your partners will respect that and appreciate that. What a great way to start a conversation with somebody. What's the craziest audit, last-minute audit you were on? Think about those questions, and you can learn a lot about other people's careers, and you are going to learn sort of the narrative of your industry and the culture of your company, and it's just a great way to kind of integrate into a new team. So hopefully I didn't steal your thunder, Melissa, but what do you got?
You did not steal my thunder on this one. So before I worked for accountants, one of the jobs I had, I worked for marketing in the long-haul trucking industry. And for those of you who are familiar with the world, long-haul trucking, not the same as accounting. But the skills that you learn, knowing regulation and how it impacts our customers, understanding that I need to be able to take very technical documents and turn them into readable, accessible documents, those are all skills that I built in a marketing position in general, or a finance, that you may build in your position. Those are going to translate. So it's just about how you sort of spin that, and spin kind of has a negative connotation. But I think it's really, it's taking time yourself and sitting down with your resume and saying, okay, well, these are the really technical things that somebody else who knows my industry might know about, but I don't. That may not be communicated to somebody who's in accounting and finance. And the other great great suggestion I have, and I tend to be the person that all my friends, you go find a marketing person. If I can tell you anything, go and make friends with a person who lives in the humanities section of your campus early on, because they are going to be, whenever you want spin, whenever you want a cover letter edited, all my friends, it's been enough moons since I graduated that I should not still be getting those phone calls, but I can't tell you how many of my friends still call me and say, oh, Melissa, could you just look at my cover letter? Could you just look at my resume to make sure it makes sense? Because they know having somebody who has a different set of eyes, just that is really, really valuable. Take an hour or an hour and a half and really go through your resume and say, okay, well, but how would this apply to accounting, or how would this apply to any, my dream job? And whether that is you worked at McDonald's or you worked in some totally different industry, you can make those things fit. You just have to take that time personally before going to the networking event, because on your feet it's going to be harder. So just planning that you're going to be successful in that way would be my best advice.
Good stuff. All of it is great stuff. Melissa, I'd like you guys to have the last word, and I just want to say thanks. Thanks to CalCPA. Thanks to Eric. Melissa, thank you for all the work you put into this week. We've had a blast, and I think everybody who's attending these webinars, if they were paying attention, they learned something that's going to help them in their career.
Yeah, I want to just say one more thank you to Eric and to you, Jeff, and to all of the team at College Frog. I mean, seriously, this is not possible if all these people don't offer their time, offer their, their webcast platform. All of those things don't happen without all of these people being willing to contribute. And believe me, for those of you that don't know, Eric took time out of what is one of the busiest times of the year between September 15th and October 15th. So please give him the visual round of applause and thank him. If you were here, shoot him an email or a request on LinkedIn to tell him how much we appreciate that, because it seriously is a big thing for somebody to take an hour and really with prep time, closer to 2.5 hours, in order to make sure that you guys get to hear from some top people. So a huge thank you to Eric, and a huge thank you to College Frog for making all of these available. Not only are they available today, but you guys are going to be able to access these after the fact. That is just awesome. I hope you guys will really make sure your profiles are up to date so that you can be matched with some firms that are looking to hire interns and entry-level accounting positions over the coming weeks. And I would just encourage you to go on to calcpa.org, find us on Facebook, find us on LinkedIn, find us on Twitter, and get connected, because this really is a great launch pad for the rest of your career. And I think what you're going to find is that it only is going to continue to be a benefit to you. So absolutely, please just I would really encourage you guys to get connected to CalCPA, and thank you guys all taking time out of your lunch periods to join us.
Well, I think that wraps it up, right? Melissa, have an awesome weekend. Eric, we thank you one more time for all the work you've put into this, and I hope everybody on the call has a phenomenal Friday and a great weekend, and we'll talk to you around the bend, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.